Got a different video for you today. We're taking our first look at the cotton. I was able to pick some what looked to be developed bowls, and I went, well, more so than the first bowls I saw. Really, most of them weren't all the way developed. A lot of very weak lint that just sort of ripped apart when you grabbed it. Stuff like this one here. You just pull on it and the lint just rips right off the seed. Really weak, underdeveloped stuff. But I got a couple of seeds, at least from the... I've so far picked 4 bowls, 2 of which I've left the lint in the bowl for demonstration purposes. And 2 of them I went through and pulled all the seeds out and inspected the lint itself. And a lot of them were like that one up there, just very weak lint, just sort of rips apart as you pull it. And then I got a couple of good mature ones, like this one I have here underneath the dissecting scope, which have very strong, nice fibers. And going through measuring everything, we seem to be averaging about a 1.5 inch lint, a 1.5 inch fiber, which is about what I expected. It's, for the most part, all between 1.5 and 1 3/8. So definitely long staple, for sure. Some extra long staple, but it's totally degraded back down to that really base level, which I expected it to be at, based on what history I could find for this strain from this seed vault. So I'm going to try and let you take a look through this dissecting scope and inspect the lint more close up. I don't know how well you can make it out down there, but it is right about 1.5. So it's bunched up right now at the moment. What you see here, this is separated. You see that dark gap right there to here. That's where the lint has broken or pulled off of the seed and it's coming out. It's trying to form a sliver. So, and it's all sort of fluffed up at the moment. It's not flattened out, but you can see how long the lint is. Back from the 5 all the way to that 5/8. It's definitely 1 3/16 on everything I measured and 1.5 on a couple of things. So we got a long road ahead of us. Maybe it won't be quite that bad in all the plants, but this also, all the bulls I've picked are from 211. So this is all from one plant, and it just shows the variability in the crop on one plant just based off of environmental and genetic factors. Just to get you an idea of the scale we're working at, each one of those marks up there is 1/8 of an inch. So I put the caliper on 1/64 and put it down there, and these are absolutely minuscule fibers. So we're talking a thou at best. You know, finer than a human hair. These are very, very fine fibers, which is what gives them their extra fine thread quality and super high tensile strength per weight. Here is the tip of the seed, and you can see where the cotton is emerging from the seed coat. It's only emerging from the tip and the very end, which is a very good sign. That means that the likelihood of this being hybridized is very low, which is definitely a good thing to see. This is very much just a run-out strain. It's not been hybridized to death, which is very good for the genetic integrity of this crop. One thing I am noting is that there's basically no usable lint coming out of the top of the seed coat, which is worrying to me. This may just be something to do with these underdeveloped bowls, or maybe just this one plant in particular, but that is something to note. That's definitely why the bowls seem to be not as full as I'd expect. Also, sorry about the camera work. I'm just sort of free holding this thing above the dissecting scope eyepiece, so it's going to be a bit rough. Here's the seed coat itself. Notice the hairs emerging from the seed coat, just sort of sparsely the whole way down. And this is, in fact, black seed cotton. There's no greenness to this, no redness, and no just errant fibers emerging from the seed coat. There is a little bit of fiber emerging from random spots in the seed coat, but that's to be expected, especially down the dehiscent lines of the seed coat. Here we are, the meat of the deal. These are the individual fibers. You notice how they're sort of helically arranged? They just sort of spiral. And they've got a bit of a roughness to them. That's exactly what we want to see. You want very fine fibers with a very slight spiral to them and a roughness to their texture. That allows them to adhere together and make very strong thread. Also note that they're not pure white. They're a little bit creamy and translucent. It's also a good thing to see. And by the way, all of this footage so far has been at 2x magnification. Here's some more of the same. Notice that the fibers are mostly uniform in thickness the whole way down. That's another good quality to note. Here's some of the larger fiber bundles closer to the seed coat. They all just sort of stick together in one lump of threads until you fluff it out like I've done. Here we have that other inferior seed I was talking about, so we're going to zoom in on that and show you the differences in the fiber quality. So right off the bat, you should be able to note that the fiber appears to be a lot curlier. Just a lot more wrinkly in appearance. And that'll be more apparent the further down we get in the fiber quality. Also, the helix seems to be a lot tighter. That's what's giving it that wrinkly quality. It also seems to be flatter. It's not as thick. It's not as cylindrical. It's sort of like a ribbon almost. Hopefully it should be a little more obvious now. I understand that it's rather subtle, all things considered, but this is just really wrinkly. It's just a lot of unevenness in the fiber quality, and that's definitely something we don't want to see. This also lends to why the cotton is just sort of breaking apart. It's just sort of ripping midway down the lint, and that is not conducive to making thread. For comparison's sake, I've put the two seeds side by side so you can see the differences in the fiber quality. The very strong, healthy, mature fiber is down at the bottom, and the weaker, inferior cotton is up on top. You can just see the differences in the shape of the lint. The stuff on top is super curly, very fine. The stuff on the bottom is a lot thicker, a lot straighter. It's got a very subtle spiral to it. It's not as asymmetrically curly, randomly wrinkling and folding. And part of that too is just because I can't straighten out the stuff on top because it tears apart whenever I try to straighten out the fiber for me to examine it. There, I don't know if you can get a slightly better look at that. The microscope does not focus exactly through the phone where my eye does, so it's a little hard to get this set up, and I don't have a proper setup, so I'm just sort of holding this in place above the eyepiece. But yeah, you can just really look at it. Look at the bottom right and then compare that to the upper left. Just no contest, completely different game. Also for your viewing pleasure, we have here a nep. And a nep is just sort of a little cankerous bundle of fiber that forms with the seeds. I'm not quite exactly sure what its origin is. It might be an underdeveloped seed, or it might just be a piece of the seed coat that came off. Sorry about that. Oh, geez. But yeah, it's just a bundle of very short, compacted fibers that comes out with the seeds whenever you remove it. There's usually... I was noticing that this cotton was rather neppy. There was like one nep per seed, and I don't know if this was like the failed top coat of the seed or not. I'll have to look into that. But also, you'll note here that there is blue stuff, like an aquamarine color to this lint. And I'm not exactly sure what's causing that. That might be a consequence of the boron and manganese that I sprayed on the cotton. That may have just went straight into the cotton. And that may have had some impact on the seed coat. Because if this is the top fiber bundle off of the cotton, it may have just like killed it or something like that. I'm not really sure. I've got to research that. But it's just interesting to note that there's green-blue stuff in the cotton along with the yellow. And it's just another example of the fiber quality in the nep. It's very short. It's actually rather straight. This might have come out of one of the nicer seeds. But it's a lot shorter, and it's really tightly wound, and you can't undo it. And this is something that you pick out. It's trash. You pull this out of the cotton before you gin it, and then if there's any left, you pull it out of the cotton after you gin it during molding. This is all just wasted fiber. You can't really separate it, and it's always very short, very tangled. So it gets pulled out and discarded. But it's interesting to look at to see how the fiber morphology differs. Here's just another even more tightly bound nep. I think this one actually has, it's either a piece of seed coat or a piece of the ovary attached. Here's another little random piece of lint that I had that got orphaned. I believe this came off of the mature bowl that I showed you earlier. Seed. I don't know why I keep saying bowl. Here you can see just very straight, helically arranged fibers. Nothing crazy going on. Just straight and clean. So this is more what I hope to see out of the crop as things go by. Hopefully the hurricane hasn't done anything weird that's going to impact productivity. I think at least the early stuff should be good. Well, the semi-early stuff. So until next time, Tom out.